Hello everyone, welcome to episode 20 of this awesome, amazing Osu Let's Play series. In the last episode, I sort of explained what technical maps are and what that means. And in this episode, I want to do a similar thing, but for alternating maps. So that term that you hear sometimes, alt maps, things like that, I will try to explain what that means, and I will show you 5, I think, high quality sample maps for different types of alternating maps. So yes, before I go any further, I want to shout out that, as usual, I stream every single day over at twitch.tv/DigitalHypno, so that will be linked in the description, but if you want to hang out with me or watch me play this game live, I would highly recommend you do that. I would be very happy to see you there. And bonus points, if you tell me that you came from this Let's Play series, I will be very, very happy to see you there. I'll be especially happy. So yes, without any further ado, so I covered in episode 6, which I'll have linked in the description, and also the little the thingy that links the video in the top corner. But in episode 6, I mentioned different types of alternating styles, so I would recommend checking that out. But just for a quick review, so what's called tap alting is where it's sort of like single taps, but you're switching between both fingers. And then stream alting is more like flowy, continuous. You don't really have gaps between like the taps, gaps between the taps, timing wise. And then there's a third type of alternating, which is basically a combination of the two, which I call tap stream alting, which is basically a very deliberate type of alting, but it looks like stream alting, but it's more deliberate, I guess. Still, it has the deliberateness of tap alting, but it has the more flowiness and like better stamina that stream alting gives. So it's sort of in the middle, kind of jack of all trades type of alternating. But yes, let's get started with the maps. So this is the first map that I have picked out for you guys. And I want to point out, okay, so basically alternating maps like naturally lend themselves to you using both of your fingers in an alternating motion. It's slightly different from streams, and that's mostly by definition by the BPM, I would say. Let me actually start this map and then can continue talking about the BPM. So just note, for example, this map is 147 BPM, and I'm checking that number right up here in the top left corner. But yes, let's get started. So I think, yeah, switching between both fingers sort of naturally, or like having such like the circles are placed at such a speed that you have to switch between both of your fingers, but it's not necessarily fast enough to be considered a stream, I would say. And okay, so the general BPM range that I would consider alternating, I would say anything under like 170 BPM, although that really depends. There could be some stream maps that are like around 160 as well, like more simple stream maps, but there are also some alternating maps that can be like 160, 165-ish. So it really depends on the type of map as well. And okay, so just like technical maps, I think rhythm complexity, you know, doubles here and there. Oh, nice pattern. Different rhythm complexity, I think, is sometimes seen in alternating maps, but it's actually not necessarily always the case. There's conventional alt maps, and then there's also like unconventional alt maps, I guess. But yeah, I think for the most part, there's usually some sort of rhythm awkwardness in alt maps compared to your typical conventional like farmy type maps, like simple rhythm, you know, jumps, maybe some streams, stuff like that. Oh, cool pattern. Okay, yeah, and I think the last main characteristic of alt maps is flow aim. I think flow aim is especially important. You have these like spacing where you sort of have to flow your cursor through the circles as opposed to like snapping to each circle. And as usual, if you want a more in-depth, in-depth explanations on, oh, nice custom applause sound, custom result screen cheering thingy. If you want more in-depth thoughts of mine on any different skill in this game, highly recommend checking out my video called Osu PhD. That will be linked in the description or the little panel thingy in the top right corner. But yes, second map, hopefully is one that you all recognize, but if not, no problem, you are seeing it here. But Scarlet Rose, probably one of the most popular maps of like 2013, 2014-ish, even maybe 2015 Osu. It's an absolute classic. So this map, Oh man, how do I describe this? Okay, so this map used to actually be like one of the hardest ranked maps in the game. And okay, so this is just more like lore about this map in particular than anything about alternating, but it used to be the case whenever someone would ask like, oh, what's the hardest map in the game? It was obviously this map, so it became like an obvious question to answer. It's like, okay, obviously Scarlet Rose is the hardest map in the game. But then as that no longer became the case, people would still answer the question of Scarlet Rose. And so it just kind of became a thing with like, oh yeah, Scarlet Rose is the hardest map in the game, even though it was like 4 years later and there were obviously harder maps. I think that meme is sort of dead at this point, but good times. I'm not sure if it's just me. Okay, let me turn my volume up. The usual volume change. Oh, uh-oh. For once, I unpaused incorrectly. But yeah, this map definitely... Oh, okay, one thing I wanted to point out. So this map is... So it says that it's 320 BPM, but in reality, you just cut that number in half, and it's actually 160, I would say. Just because like the nature of the patterns. Yeah, some older maps that are very hard, they double the BPM. So that I think it's probably something for like the slider speed being a certain way. I'm not actually sure, but yeah, it's something you'll find in like really hard maps that are kind of old. I don't think it's really too common anymore, but yes, that used to be a thing. But yeah, you'll find... Okay, so differences between tech and alt maps, I would say there's some overlap for sure. I think if there's some emphasis on... Okay, so how do I word this? Alternating maps, I think, are largely by the BPM of the map. Probably anything from like 100 BPM-ish to like under 170, like I said. But if there is like an emphasis on slider aim and also rhythm complexity, and the BPM is sort of like alternatey like this, then probably sort of a mix of the two, I would say. Tech and alt both. But yeah, I think... Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, there's definitely there's different subsets of alternating maps. Like, since it's just kind of by the BPM. And I should also add, like, just because the BPM is within, like, that range that I mentioned, doesn't necessarily make it an alt map. There's... Oh, uh-oh. Oh yeah, this map is very tricky. But there's maps out there that are within that, 100 to 169-ish, I guess, BPM range, and they're not necessarily alt maps. I just think, like, needing to naturally, like, use both of your fingers while also, like, I guess flow aim being a big aspect as well, but it's not necessarily streamy, is, I think, good conception of alt. Alright, map number 3 is this absolute banger. There's a full version of it too, I think. There's two of them. Yeah, 4-minute version, but let's play the 1-minute version. Okay, hopefully I can FC this map. I don't actually have a score. Okay, let's see. But yeah, I think this map is a good showing of like rhythm complexity that can exist in alt maps. Although I wouldn't call this tech because I think it's missing the slider aim aspect. If there was more emphasis on slider aim, then I would probably be able to group it under tech and alt, probably, just by the BPM. Like, I don't know, just imagine like all these circles, instead of like, every time there's a gap in rhythm, instead of just a gap in rhythm, it was like just this giant slider that you had to like follow. Oh, okay, I hit it. I did not realize that was there. But yeah, there definitely could be some overlap between tech and alt, so I think that's bottom line. I think I don't know how many times I've tried explaining that point in this episode, but yeah, rhythm complexity I think is pretty common in alt maps as well. In alt, honestly, there's a lot of variety when it comes to alt maps, especially with like the types of song. There's a lot of really cool songs out there. Oh, nice. Yeah, lots of cool songs out there that are alty in nature. So, I would recommend exploring that. And oh man, I don't remember what episode number it was, but where I explained how to like go through people's profiles, like mappers' profiles, to find new maps to play. Nice, full combo. Solid 10-star map. But yes, whatever episode number that was, I'll have it linked in the description as well. But I did make an episode about going to different people's profiles and checking out their beat map section to find different maps to play. So if you want to find more maps like these, I would recommend going to the mappers profiles of all these maps, and you can check out their other maps that they like, things like that. But yes, this is map number 4 of this alternating gameplay sample maps that I think are cool and you guys should know about. So yeah, okay, so this map features 1/3 and 1/6 rhythms. I would say those more lend to rhythm complexity. It's the similar concept to what I mentioned in the last episode about tech maps. You don't necessarily need to have 1/3 or 1/6 rhythms for it to be an alt map. And just because a map has those doesn't necessarily mean that it's an alt map either. But I think they do add some sense of rhythm complexity that like brings the map closer to that threshold of being like, okay, yeah, this map's rhythm is pretty complex. Oh, this map has those like stops in rhythm as well that we saw in one of the maps last episode. Solid map. Oh yeah, this map is not ranked. Although I think it might be going for rank at some point. Maybe if you're watching this in the far future, maybe this map is ranked. Hello viewers in the future. Please watch my future videos. I do make these every single day, so I'm sure this is episode 20. I'm sure that there are many more after this one. But yes, look at this guy. He's so happy. I have this habit, man. Okay, you know, okay, this is unrelated, but like when I was like somewhat new to this game, I would always like I had this habit of just drawing faces on like the people in the background, like during breaks, using the smoke button, and I just remember imagining that like one day I would just like be known for that, and like in all my replays in the break, I would just like draw some like face on the person in the background. I don't think I'm really known for that, but it is something that I do pretty often, I would say. Yeah, I noticed. Okay, so one thing about alternating maps is just by nature, I think, especially of the rhythm complexity, like being able to start and really, I think being able to end the patterns with either finger. Nice, by the way, nice. Oh wait, it even says nice in my skin when I get a full combo. This is what that check mark means. The full combo. Okay. Anyway, yeah, being able to stop patterns with either finger, like on doubles and quads and like different length bursts that are kind of custom, fancy, things like that. Oh, this is the wrong difficulty. I want to show you this one. It's AR 9.6. Okay, this is map number 5. But yes, being able to start and stop patterns with either finger. So I guess in that sense, finger control. I think by definition that is what finger control is. But I think that skill is very necessary for alternating maps usually. And yeah, you'll sometimes find as well, like buzz sliders. I think there's some in this map too. So a buzz slider is like a really short repeat slider that just like repeats a lot, and it goes like, I don't know, it's like, gets its name from like making a buzzing sound. I think there's a couple in this map, so I'll try to point them out. But when you're holding down those, you want to use your other finger to, like, okay, you don't want to press the next object with the same finger, because, wait, I think it's here. Oh yeah, this one. Okay. So if you try to use the same finger for the next object, then you run the risk of letting go of that buzz slider too early. Oh shoot. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Like, you don't want to let go of the buzz slider too early, because there's a high chance that you'll like because the slider is so fast. Like if you let go too early, you might end up breaking your combo. So being able to start patterns with your other fingers, I think, especially useful after buzz sliders. But yeah, but if you can't start, like let's say there's a buzz slider into a stream or something, or an alt pattern, and if you can't comfortably start the next pattern on your other finger, then you might run into issues. And that's one of the reasons why actually I tell people. So sometimes I get asked like, is it better to single tap or alternate? And the answer I usually give is like, you can do whatever you want, but if you only ever single tap, then you might run into problems. But if you only ever alternate, then you'll probably never run into problems. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. Like if you try to single tap the next object, okay, no, I just tried to do it there as a demonstration. It ended up working, but basically, oh, what happened to my throat? Basically, you have to like try letting go like as late as possible, and you probably are going to end up hitting the next object late, because if you let go of a bus slider early, then you're just going to break your combo because of how fast it is. It's not like a normal slider where you can like you'll just drop the slider end, like because it's so fast. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But yes, alternating maps, it's overall very fun. I think for the most part, there's a lot of fun alternating maps out there. So definitely something to explore, and hopefully the maps that I showed in this episode are a good starting point. But yeah, I remember this map from 20. I think I assessed this map in like 2017 or something. I don't know how, but I think like one of my friends was spectating me, and they were like, "OMG, how do you do this map?" But actually, this map is OD7, I want to say, which is somewhat on the lower side. But yeah, alternating maps are kind of tricky, but very cool if you're able to get used to them. And I think for the most part, starting patterns with either finger is very important. And oh, I also want to mention, I guess, like types of alternating. So usually stream alting is so stream alting and tap stream alting are usually the ones that are used for alternating maps. Tap alting is, I think, mostly for jumps. Although, yeah, usually in alt maps, it takes too much stamina, I think, to do tap alting on every pattern. But if you're able to, and if you really need the aim control, then, I mean, more power to you if you're like fast enough to do that. But that is crazy hard to tap alt on these kinds of maps. But yes. Okay, you can see, for example, this map is 150 BPM. So if we convert this is basically 150 BPM streams, this map. So it would also be 300 BPM single taps if you were to just use one key for everything. So keep in mind that's one way to convert or like have a point of reference for pattern speeds as well. But yes, that is, I think, just about going to do it for alternating maps. Thanks to everyone who has been suggesting topics in the comments, by the way. I have been taking note of all of them, and I much appreciate all of you guys watching, and to you specifically for making it to the end of this episode. You are awesome. And yes, if you're watching in the future, do check out my future episodes of this series. So I upload these every single day, and if you can make it to one of my live streams, I would be very happy to see you there. So yes, but with that, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.